Welcome to the Midlife Crisis. So, I was thinking today, just thinking about society in a whole, and some of the things that I've noticed. Well, actually, not even some of the things. Let me not start it like that. I was thinking about one thing particularly that I come across and have come across quite often. I'm tall, and I'm kind of thick, if you know what I mean. 6'6", 235 pounds. Pretty decent shape. And of course, you all can hear how I sound. It is what it is. In most of the jobs that I've had, I've always come across somebody who is intimidated by me. Not because I'm threatening people, not because I am, trying to be aggressive, not because I'm doing anything other than talking the same way that I'm talking right now. I mind my business. I don't jump in everybody's conversation. I wait until I'm spoken to in order to, join a conversation. If I do, then I join. If they don't invite me, then I keep my mouth shut. If I don't know you, I don't try to engage in small talk and things like that. I just keep it about business because that's what we're there to do. We're there to work. But in every job that I've had, almost every job that I've had, I always come across the person who's intimidated by me. And usually when I receive my talking to, when the supervisor wants to address it with me and say, hey, this is what's happening and so on and so forth, I start to plead my case. And usually when I'm pleading my case, I'm letting them know, hey, I'm not saying anything wrong. I'm not being disrespectful to the person. I'm not, cussing the person out. I'm not being overly aggressive. I'm not being aggressive, period. I'm just, I'm coming to work. I do my job, and that's pretty much it. And I hear this often. Well, maybe you can just soften your tone. Maybe you can just, be a little bit, a little softer when it comes to a person. And, the first time I heard it, I took the advice and tried to soften my approach. Second time I heard it, did the same thing. But the older I got and the more that I heard it, the more it's starting to annoy the shit out of me, if I'm being perfectly honest. And why do I say that? Usually when you meet somebody from a different culture, you do your best to be open-minded. That's what we're all taught. If you're, a good person and a nice person and, somebody who's not a racist and not agoraphobic or anything like that, you want to, be a open-minded individual. If you meet somebody from any other nationality, India, China, Mexico, it doesn't matter. You're doing your best to be like, oh, let me learn about your culture. Let me hear about your food. Let me, do whatever. And if they speak with an accent, it's okay. You're taught and expected almost to make sure you're doing your best to understand them. Make sure that you're increasing your vocabulary so much so that the words that they're using, whether it be broken English or just, English with a heavy accent, you're doing your best to understand it. And you approach it that way. You approach it with an open mind. You don't misinterpret anything. In fact, you usually give them the benefit of the doubt. If they say something that, excuse me, if they say something that you would normally consider to be a little, out of the way or off kilter or something like that, you usually attribute it to a cultural difference. Hey, that's fine. That's how they do it in their culture. I don't know if this is a stereotype or not, so I apologize if I'm furthering something that shouldn't be furthered, but, Latino men or Hispanic men are known for having, tempers and things like that. So it's like if they say something fiery or spicy, it gets those types of terms. It's fiery, it's spicy. It's just their culture. They're just, it's Latino heat. As a wrestler, that was his whole moniker, Latino heat. Not that wrestling should be the benchmark for anybody to base their racial relations on, but you get what I'm saying. If Asians do certain things or whatever, it's part of their culture. If, Europeans do certain things, it's a part of their culture. I noticed that when blacks do certain things, never attributed to part of our culture. It's always a negative connotation. If I talk the way that I'm talking right now, I'm aggressive. If I have the look that I have on my face right now, I'm aggressive. Now, I'm not oblivious and I'm not blind to, what I look like in the mirror. I understand that if I'm not smiling, it does look like I'm pissed off at the world. However, when you approach me, It's all sirs and madams. If I'm bowing to you to show deference and submission and things like that, just to keep things humble, just to make sure that you know I'm not necessarily, trying to attack you, or I'm not trying to be aggressive towards you or aggress you in any sort of way. Why is it that still, if I'm speaking the Queen's English, never using a cuss word, never raising my voice, referring to you as sir or madam, thanking you for everything that you do, you fart in my general direction, I'm usually like, hey, thank you for, sharing your foul air with me. I'm being facetious, but you understand where I'm coming from. I'm very humble, very thankful, but because I'm saying something that you may not like, now I'm aggressive and I need to soften my tone. Fuck that. I'm tired of doing that, because I could harden my tone a lot, and those people who are telling me to soften my tone would really understand what the difference actually is. But I'm just thinking to myself, and I don't know how many other people are actually going through this. I imagine a lot, because there's another side to this as well. But why should I have to soften my tone? This is my voice. This is my natural speaking voice. I just so happen to have a nice baritone. It is what it is. I bet you if I was white, people would be trying to put me in an opera or something like that or whatever. I have to say, even though I'm black, people did try to put me in the choir. But in a work environment, I terrify people just for being who I am. And I have a problem with that. When I said there's a flip side to this coin, black women go through a lot of this, but on a different front as well. They go through the front of always being viewed as overly aggressive, in their own right. However, black bodies, I've literally seen this happen. I've seen a white woman wear a pencil skirt to work, knee length, wasn't showing anything, small little slit in the side that maybe, went to the top of her knee, but that was it. And I've seen a black woman wear that same pencil skirt to work. Black woman was told to go home and change her clothes. Why? Because she had an ass. Now, don't get me wrong, but I was pretty good in biology. I think all humans have asses. Just the fact that hers is nice and curvy and the other one is flat as a pancake shouldn't mean that you're applying the dress code to one and not the other. That's unfair. And it makes absolutely no sense when you look at it. It's the same dress on a different body style. Why does one, and when I'm saying that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that when the black woman wore the pencil skirt that things were popping out and the seams were almost splitting because it was extra tight and all this other type of stuff. No, she just had a butt. So why is it that she has to go home and change her clothes because she's violating the dress code, whereas a white woman can wear it with impunity? Nobody says anything about her. I don't understand that. Why is it that when a black woman says that she's, unhappy with something, automatically she's being the angry black bitch? But when a white woman flips out and does the same thing, turns into a total Karen, it's acceptable in society. Why is it that when I talk and just say, hey, good morning, you're doing that wrong, you might need to do it another way, oh, he's being aggressive. What the fuck? But if a white guy comes and says, oh, thank you for your advice, what? Like, there's nothing different in what we're saying other than the vessel that it's coming out of. So why is it that I'm viewed so differently, and not just differently, but viewed in such a negative, aggressive, threatening way, when that's not how I'm acting toward you whatsoever? Does body language not count for anything? And I say that also facetiously because, again, my body language has been called into question as well. Mind you, I'm standing as though I'm in the military. People have accused me of being a superhero because of the way that I stand and the way that I walk. What am I doing wrong by standing as though I'm at attention 24/7? Oh my God, I'm afraid of him. Why? Because I have my hands behind my back? You're not more afraid of the guy that's right over there who happens to be a different color than black, but he's literally got his fist balled up and swinging towards you? That guy's fine. But the big black guy that's standing over here with his hands behind his back, I'm worried about that guy. What the hell? Like, what the hell? I'm tired of it. I'm just simply tired of it. I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have a epiphany or aha moment that makes this all better. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of hearing that because somebody is intimidated by me, although I'm not doing anything intimidating, that I need to change my behavior. Fuck that. Where's that cultural reference where somebody looks at me and just says, oh, that's just part of his culture? You think he's loud? That's just part of his culture. You think he's talking to you intelligently? That's just part of his culture. Do you think he's speaking to you in a direct tone? That's just part of his culture. Where's the open-mindedness for us? Or is it just me? Maybe I'm the only person that's going through it and I'm totally off. But either way, I'm still tired of that bullshit. I think if I'm being totally respectful and humble in my speech and accurate in my speech as well, that there's no reason why I should have to alter myself or change who I am or soften myself just to make somebody else more comfortable. Now, if I'm being boisterous, if I'm being, obnoxious, if I'm over the top with it, then yeah, of course, I understand that. But if I'm not doing anything other than just being normal, I think you need to figure some shit out on your own. I think you need to stop pointing fingers at people and saying they intimidate me, and look in the mirror and figure out why you're so intimidated by me when I'm not even doing anything. I think that's the focal point that needs to be brought up a lot more often. Maybe I have an HR case.